Okay, so when you were embarking, Nick, on that path of becoming an author or seeing yourself as a person who writes, and that often involves like a breaking free point from the norms, from your previous life in a way, from societal expectations, or yeah, just previous roles that you participated in. Did you face any external resistance or as well internal resistance, like internal conflicts during this transformative process that you have embarked?
Yeah, I would say there were two. External, I would say it was rather minimal, but there were some people who just looked at me and thought, Nick's, just having a bit of fun with us because I told a lot of people what my plans were. And a lot of people said, you wouldn't be a writer or something like that. But I'd say most people were very supportive and happy with the process and thought, hey, Nick, you can do it. Go for it. Internally, I think there's always a lot of self-doubt, but I think it depends where you want to go. We can't all be J.K. Rowling. We can't all appear on the top shelf of bookshops. And I think if you can have that reality check right at the very beginning and don't have any grand aspirations. I mean, when I started, I didn't even know if I would get a finished book. I didn't even know. I didn't even know if I would be able to find a publisher. I mean, for me, when I started writing, the thought of even finding a publisher was so far away. And I know that the chances of finding a publisher are extremely small.
Mm-hmm.
So many people write. But I thought, hey, I'm just going to write it. If I finish it, fine. If I don't finish it, also fine. If I don't find a publisher, then I will keep it for myself. And I took that approach. So I didn't put myself under any great pressure. But at
Okay,
some stage, I did finish it.
so you kind of released yourself that pressure, like with thinking, um, like you don't have to have big aspirations, or you said that you gave yourself a reality check. I like the I like to see my reality as everything, like I can add everything I want to in that. And um and that is new for me, I have to say. Like just telling yourself, it doesn't have to be big, like, but you are mm, taking your goal from the pedestal when you are doing this. Like, there is no, you don't have to like achieve this big thing that you can't even see clearly, or you can't even comprehend clearly, but you make it like on your level. And I don't have to be J.K. Rowling. Like, I can just be Nick Ponter and write my stuff and make people happy with it. And if that's the end goal, that's very
I
beautiful.
made some comparisons. For example,
Mhm.
if you like to play the guitar or any musical instrument,
Yeah.
do you have to have the aspiration to be a successful guitarist on stage playing Metallica?
Mm.
Um, if you're an artist and you like painting pictures, do you have to be in an art gallery? Or maybe we just say to ourselves, enjoy this artistic process. And that's what I said to myself.
Okay.
Enjoy the I did have the intention of finding a publisher, so I didn't I did, after a while when the book was finished and I started going back over it and people gave me some help. It was changed radically with the idea that, hey, you've got a cool story here, you should do something with it. So I had to make it more professional. I had to change a lot of the book before I
hmm
started approaching publishers, but that came much later, much later.
Okay. Yeah, but that is a cool view that you have. You don't have to have, you don't have to be in an art gallery, or you don't have to be the next J.K. Rowling. You just have to let it flow freely and just be you and just
Yes.
have fun with it. And that is the art of being an artist, in a way, just expressing what is bubbling up inside of you. And you have told us that there were a lot of things that were bubbling up inside of you, and even later as well, when you initially tapped into that. And
But the transformation phase then went into different phases. The first phase was, I want to write, and setting these milestones of, I don't have to be a famous author. I just want to write for fun and I want to get a story on paper. Then the next transformation phase came where I realized I've got to finish a story. What am I going to do with it now? Shall I approach publishers? Well, and then the doubt. This is where the doubt was, the self-doubt. I'm not going to find a publisher anyway. Who would be interested in Nick Ponter's story? But I thought, going back to my motto, if you don't try and you don't send it, you're never going to know.
Okay.
And I did, and I got 4 contract offers in a few weeks. And then I sat there and thought, ooh, wow.
Yeah. So you overcame these obstacles in a way just by just going on doing it and just like keeping on pursuing your dreams, whatever is in your mind that is kind of stopping you from it, just ignoring it and just going anyways.
Yes. But I think the key thing is, for anybody who might want to try something new in life, is if you're under no pressure from a professional perspective, enjoy what you're doing. And if you enjoy what you're doing, then you can be free and you've put yourself under no pressure. Phase 2 is when you realize you have something, and then that's where you put yourself under pressure.
As well, again, there's always like a new transformation in a way.
But permanently transforming, permanently.
I love that quote, like the only constant in life is change.
Yes.
Like everything changes from moment to moment. Okay, so I forgot my question. So you had like the courage to say to other people, to your friends, to your family, okay, I'm gonna write a book, or I'm just gonna explore myself in writing something. Maybe nobody before knew that you wanted to write something, or nobody saw you with like your writing skills, and nobody had that in mind when thinking about Nick Ponter.
Not at all. As a business English trainer, I would do business emails, and I apologize for writing to you about. I mean, that was very much that stuff. But when I just took the decision to write, and you said about this release and the things bubbling up inside me, the writing was the way to release it and to find a new direction. And I did it by writing fantasy. A lot of people thought that, oh, Nick, why don't you write about your life? You have a very interesting life. I don't want to do that. I want to pick up my reader and put my reader into another world. But, and I have one clear rule, and I've never gone away from that, is that world mustn't be scary, because we have enough scary things in the world around us. It has to be a fun world, a fantasy world, and the story should be funny. And I want to make people smile and laugh. And that was I said to myself at the very beginning, that's what I want to achieve, and I stuck to that. Nice.
And you had a main character, like a main person from the first person. Also, you have written it in the first person from Connor Jackson. And you, even if you have a very interesting life, and you could have like written a book about yourself as well, you can inspire this, not this person, but this person is inspired by you. Like maybe you can put yourself in these shoes, or he can put yourself in your shoes as well. Like you can kind of write about yourself as well through him, but it doesn't have to be 100% you. So it is like there don't have to be any transparency. You know what I mean? Like you can create a persona and add the things that you like about yourself, or that you like to see in the world as well, or what you enjoy, and just have it as not a secret in a way, but it doesn't have to be you. You don't have to make yourself so public. You don't have to pour out your heart like Nick Ponter is like this. But Nick
Ponter is definitely not Connor Jackson.
So
there are bits of Nick Ponter which are in Connor Jackson, and there are bits of Connor Jackson which are in Nick Ponter.
Okay.
It's a bit of a mixture. But one thing which Connor Jackson goes through is a very large transformation, and he's permanently transforming. So maybe there's this part of my character which subconsciously came out in my writing, and the character development.
Yeah. I think we all are, but you might be actively transforming, like you see that process for yourself. So I have another question. Like, were there any defining moments in which you were like solidifying your belief in your writing abilities, where you said like, okay, I definitely am good at this, and the people and the world has to read it. Like, it's not just about fun and games. I don't just have fun sitting around on my laptop or my computer and write out what was pouring out of my heart. But when did you know, like, I have to do this?
I can answer the question with two answers. Firstly, I gave my book to two people to read before I even sent it to publishers. Mm-hmm. And there was obviously feedback like, you need to change this, you need to change that. But the main feedback was the story is completely unique and a page turner, and it should be sent to publishers because it's so refreshing and so new.
Were these friends of yours or just?
Yes, family and friends, yes.
Okay.
And my wife actually, for the with the first word, the biggest critic and the biggest feedback and the biggest help. That's 100% to say that, and some another independent person as well. And that gave me the motivation to take it more seriously rather than just fun. It still is fun, of course, but then preparing it for submission to a publisher. So the next phase in this was sending it to publishers with the belief you're not going to get anything anyway. But it was the opposite. I got 4 contract offers in quite a short period of time. And that was the point where I really said, this is now real. You're going to be on stage, basically.
Yeah.
And then the publishing process took off. I signed a contract and the publishing process went on. That takes me into the next transformation part, is I then said to myself, I'm a published author. And I would then say my creativity split into 2 tracks. Number 1, I started doing live readings for my book. And I've never really, apart from to my own children, read books in a lively manner to people before. And when I started doing online readings, I found something inside me which I didn't know was there, was a little bit of an actor. And I could do different voices. And everybody said, you've got such an amazing voice. And I then got an offer from Audible to record my own audiobook for Connie Jackson, which I then did. And again, this is another transformation. I didn't even realize I could do it. And I not only could I do it, I actually did it quite well with different voices, including women's voices as well. And since then, I've actually done a few jobs for companies of audio recordings and some videos.
That is so nice. I think sometimes there is like I say, I'm a very spiritual person. I say sometimes we have like a portal that we enter, or we just take one step into, and then it spirals down or it spirals up in whatever you want. Like, and then the next door opens, the next door opens, the next door opens. And
but if you don't have the courage or the inner belief to open the door and to take your step through the door, you're not going to know.
No.
And what could go wrong? I mean, even if I recorded it and the audio recording wasn't good, well, all I've done is waste some hours.
Yeah.
I've done no damage to anybody. I haven't hurt anybody. Or the worst case scenario, people that Audible could say that wasn't very good. Okay. Yeah. Well, I tried it. I mean, nothing else can happen.
And then you have people laughing about you, but that is the worst case scenario.
Yes.
Okay. Like, okay, you live for yourself. Yeah.
Well, if people didn't laugh at me, but were that to happen, I think my answer would have been, have you tried it?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Interesting. So it's just about believing in yourself and just doing it. Yeah. And if the door doesn't open, if that's not the portal for you, but sometimes it is, you just take one step and it goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Wherever, like, we don't know where you land in a couple of years as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the next transformation then was the feeling, I am now a published author. I've got a book in my hand with my name on it. The reality is now there. I'm going to write the sequel. And you mentioned earlier that the sequel was out. It's actually not out yet. It will be out by November. But we're not far away now. But I then had my confidence in writing skills and planning.
Yeah.
And I approached book 2 in a completely different mindset because I actually knew what I was doing. And I changed some things of what I did. My style, I would say, is the same. The book is a bit darker, but in a funny way. and but I found book 2 much easier to write than book 1.
Okay, so because you got the confidence now.
Yeah, and the practice and the experience.
Would you be happy to show the book and maybe read like the book cover for us? I'd be very interested in that.
For sure. I'm not sure if it's going to be mirrored, but Connor
Yeah.
Jackson and the Memory Thieves, and you see little moles at the bottom in the garden, and that is obviously Connor Jackson in the middle. So
The first one.
what's the story all about? I will read the back cover. Connor Jackson lives a quiet life in Lower Molehampton. He lives in the house he was born and brought up in, and apart from his secretive job as a civil servant, he pretty much lives an ordinary life. That is until one morning when Connor is woken up by something, so he decides to investigate. He notices a massive molehill in the middle of his back garden. Now, molehills have always been a feature in Lower Molehampton, but there appears to be more than ever now, and this one is huge. Upon closer inspection of this mountain molehill, which has appeared during the night, Connor discovers a glass jar sitting in the centre of the mound. Thinking nothing more than this being a strange occurrence, Connor hides the jar away and forgets about it altogether. That is until a few months later, when late one evening Connor is ambushed in his home by 2 sets of intruders. Attempting to flee, he is eventually captured. Fearing for his life and not knowing what these kidnappers want, Connor is thrown into a world which he never would have expected, into a world where he discovers the truth about life and death.
Very, very nice. Thank you very, very much. I think that is very similar to what we are also talking about all the time, or for me it is at least. Like you find something and maybe you hide it away, whatever is in your heart, in your soul, what you have, what you can, whatever, and then you really tap into it, and then you are sucked into a world of multiple experiences, new, like you said about life and death, but like all the opportunities open up. Very interesting. Thank you very much for that.
The biggest challenge in this is it's not a children's book.
Mm-hmm.
It's a book for any age. So from young adult fantasy, it's classification up to any age, and I tried to keep it open like that so anybody could read it. There's enough fantasy in there for the younger readers to enjoy. There's enough political satire in there for the older reader to laugh about. So there's a little bit there of everything in it, and I tried to keep in that style. The audience is rather wide.
Yeah. So it is for everybody.
Pretty much. I mean, it's obviously not for 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds.
Yeah. But
yeah. It mentions the difference between life and death. Death is mentioned in the story. People die, but the process of dying is not explained. The physical act of dying. It's just one moment you're alive, and the next moment you're in another world. And I managed to do it in a very humorous way, where people wouldn't be scared about what they're reading. I once did a reading to a class in Canada online, and one of the teachers wrote to me before the reading saying that one of the pupils had lost his mother some months ago, and whether there would be anything in the story which would upset the child. And I said, I believe not. So we said, we'll try it, and everything was fine.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. So you just have to see certain things from a certain kind of view, like you said. Like if the people in your book or the characters in your book, they die, you don't have to see it as not being there anymore. Like as okay, interesting. Like
you don't have to describe the physical act of death as some sort of exciting, disastrous moment. You just have to describe the transformation between one and the other.
Wow, nice, very interesting. I just wanna, I wanna ask you a different question. because it's all about creativity. We have talked about creativity, about the flowing process of becoming an author, what feels fun, what didn't feel that fun, like you had self-doubt as well and overcame that. The journey of writing a book requires a lot of consistency as well, and perseverance for aspiring authors. Like how did you have a certain structure that you set up in your life, in your daily life, now in becoming an author, or now that you are a published author, a writer? Did you change up your life for, like, did you maybe break free from certain things in your life that you can fit this role in your life to be an author? Like, did you change certain structures in your life? Did you gain structure in your life for actualizing that dream?
I don't think really. I think I keep my two worlds of being a writer and being a business English trainer quite separate. And I'm Nick, the business English trainer, and Nick, the author, comes alive as an author when he does live readings. And it's still me, but it's a completely different break. The writing phase, I hope I'm answering your question correctly, but I don't really do it like half an hour here, half an hour there. I find I can't write like that. I usually take like 1 week and go away and sit in a tent somewhere and just write. I write by hand. Another interesting thing, but I don't take a laptop with me. And I find writing by hand, the creativity flow from the brain to the hand is much better than that.
Nice. I found the opposite. But very interesting, very interesting. So you say you take time for yourself, like you go on holidays or whatever, and then you write.
Yes. Yeah.
And you write a full book in a week, or how does that look?
No. I think my second book, because I was much more organized with my planning, I wrote my third book by hand, probably in about over the course of 3 years, in in a block of 4 weeks, split up over 3 years.
Nice.
But that's not including the planning. That was the physical writing part.
Okay.
But I suppose everybody's different. Maybe some people can lock themselves in a room and say, I'm going to write for half an hour. I personally can't.
Yeah.
Because I have to delve into the world of Connor Jackson. I have to become the characters. And I can write when people are around me who I don't know. So I can write on an aeroplane. What I can't do is I can't write when people who I know are around me.
So really have to get to know yourself. Like, when am I the most creative? Like, you for example, you have to tap into your characters, or you just can't like take for example, you're doing your desk job, you have your language school, you're a business teacher and a business English teacher, and then in the afternoon, like, you decide, now I'm going to write for 2 hours every day, or I'm just like in the mood of like connecting with my notes or whatever. So you found that in yourself. Like, how did you find how did you gain that knowledge that you have to, for example, be on holidays to tap into your characters and then be them and write with them, or what? Like,
I just experimented. I just said to myself, I want to go away camping for a week and I want to write, and I did it, and I found it worked extremely well.
Okay.
But one thing I can do in my daily lifestyle, but this is before the pandemic, I used to drive a lot to customers. So I had a lot of time in the car, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a week. And I used to daydream and play the story from multiple angles of what it could be in different sections. And then at some stage I'd have a little voice recorder, or I'd write notes. And I used to do a lot of daydreaming whilst driving.
Yeah.
I found that but all of that time has gone. And I'm now in a little bit of a creativity hole, because I haven't really got I'm sitting in front of my computer online still a lot. And I find I haven't got that personal space of freedom to daydream. Daydreaming is healthy. So teachers complain and say children shouldn't daydream. Well, where's the creativity going to come from if people don't daydream?
Yeah. I call that visualizing. Well, like in the spiritual community, that is a big part, I think, to visualize your wish fulfilled, or your in that regards, your book, how it is, like how it is written, or the reader, how does he feel when he reads what you have written. Very interesting. So yeah, I'm gonna ask you, I think, the last couple questions now.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so you mentioned that I think that you mentioned that that you don't have that not motivation, but maybe you have experienced like a writer's block as well, and also with that comes, I think, self-doubt, and that can be a significant obstacle for some writers, for aspiring authors. Like, what strategies do you employ to overcome these challenges, and maintain your creative momentum? Because
That is
like how do
easy
you keep
question.
yourself?
I can answer that
Yeah.
quite easily. Don't force yourself.
Don't-
It's a basic answer. Don't force yourself. If you say to yourself, I've now got 2 days free, and I'm going to sit down and write, and I have to write, and nothing comes out, leave it.
Mhm.
Don't force yourself. Obviously, you can do other things. You can go over and read things which you've done and correct it and make it nicer. That's the type of work you should do in those things. But of course, everyone's different. And for me, it was the right. I have to have complete freedom and immerse into my own little world. And if you've got writer's block, there is no switch to go. It doesn't exist. Sometimes you're planning the story in your head, and you come to a point where the story goes no further. I need another idea to take it from A to B.
Okay.
And the more you daydream, the more you think, the more you visualize. Sometimes then the idea just goes like that. And you think, hey, that's cool. Sometimes you see something out on the street and you say, that's it. I'll use that idea. But so these things are, there's no button on and off. You just have to go with the flow. I think as well, I was in a luxury position, and still am, where I don't have any pressure from a publisher to say you have to produce by this time. And I think if you are in that position where you say you have to produce a book by the end of this year, I think that will be more challenging.
Might be, for sure. And yeah, you are lucky in a way that you have your professional job, and that everything is secure, and that is just like a release part, like a creativity
Yeah,
that also can monetize, and that is a very interesting part as well. Yeah, some people might be under more pressure than you are, but I also think that like some people thrive under pressure. Do you thrive under pressure?
I do, depending on what it is. I don't thrive under pressure of being a writer, like setting myself deadlines. I don't know. In my work life, yes,
Mhm.
but not in my private writing side.
Okay, because that is just free flow creativity, or why do you think that is?
Exactly that. And I think if I put myself under pressure, the flow would stop.
Okay.
And
Okay.
again, these things have come back to the beginning. You have to enjoy what you're doing. And
Yeah.
you need to put yourself in that position, or I do, that I'm enjoying where I am, what I'm doing. I'm laughing whilst I'm writing it. Nick
Hmm.
is talking to you on paper.
Hmm.
And if I can't put myself in that situation, then it doesn't work. Then the
Yeah.
river of ideas stops.
Okay. And that is important for the reader then to have, like, you don't think about, when you're reading a book, you don't think about the author only, but you have yeah, you are exchanging energy in a way. You are writing down in a certain way, like how you are writing this down, and that abfärben, and that
That comes off on the reader, I would say.
yeah, that comes off on the reader as well. So yes, as a young author, like, what advice would you give to aspiring writers, and like who are struggling to bring their ideas to life? And like, do you need, like you said, that you just have to be in flow, but is it just about motivation? Like, do you have to wait for motivation, or do you just have to persevere through these challenging times of the writing process, and not like rely as much on your motivation, or just like make it a normal act? Like, did you make it a normal act for you to write, or did you have to rely on certain motivation to just kicking, and then I'm able to write a couple pages and then I'm laying back again? Or has it become like, did it grow into yourself, like as a part of yourself, that I'm just doing this
I would say it's grown into myself.
like
I
easily
don't
because
think it's
it is a
possible
part
to answer all of the questions in one go. But certainly, any advice
of it?
to an aspiring author would have to be, number one, enjoy what you're doing. Number
Yeah.
two, always put yourself in the shoes of the reader, because I'm sure that everybody reads, and there are books you like, there are book styles you don't like, and things like that. You as a writer need to take the reader by the hand and take them through the story. Don't give them too much information, but these are little tactics and tricks which you learn as you go along. So amend your tactics, change your style, strip things out, throw things out, put things back in new again, experiment. But basically, you should have the ability to pick people up. And if you're unsure of yourself and you don't know, well, just try. What have you got to lose?
Yeah.
Enjoy the process. But there are some more concrete tactics as well. Plan your book. Have a start, have a finish, have a plot. I believe these are things you shouldn't just make up as you go along. I think you need some sort of direction, because I think the readers can see it. If the book is going, yeah, I like the writing style, but where are we going? And I think readers can see that if you haven't got that planning there. Character development. People want to see the transformation in characters from this person, taking them on a journey of the person, of how that person changes. That's all part of storytelling. And key thing, have a story to tell.
Yeah, yeah. And you just made that up for yourself only, or did you have people like you were looking up to and think like, they plot their books perfectly, like I wanna
I wouldn't say I looked up. There is one special author who I like his style, and that's Roald Dahl, and stories like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, James and the Giant Peach. That, I have to say, was a great motivation and aspiration for myself to write in that style and to create those type of stories.
Yeah, very interesting. Are you a big reader yourself?
I was. Since I started writing, I don't read so much because I don't have the time.
You read your own stuff now?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's more proofreading, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. Very interesting.
But I'm sure my reading will come back again at some stage.
Yeah, so you are your own inspiration in a, you have inspirations as well, but you are your big inspiration. What I learned now is that you just don't care, like you just go and do your thing, what is bubbling underneath yourself in your creative field, and just go for it, and conquer the self-doubt. Because in I'm half Brazilian, and in Brazil we have a saying that if you have fear going, just go with the fear.
Yes.
Like, if it doesn't matter to have fear or have this feeling or that feeling, just go. You wanted to go, so then go.
Yes.
And this is what you remind me a lot of that about that saying.
Well, I this theory of just not having fear of certain things is something which I see in other parts of my life, my travel life. I love traveling. And I flew to Southeast Asia last year, and all I did was book a flight and take a rucksack which weighed 9 kilos. And I had a list of places I wanted to go, but I got out of the airplane and I just stood there and said, Nick, where shall I go now? I didn't even book any accommodation. Some people find it a very interesting way of traveling. Most people who I know said they wouldn't do something like that, had fear of where are you going to stay. But actually, the nicest part of the holiday was breaking away from my normal routine, which is very planned by the minute, and to completely break free of that and do something completely different.
Yeah, to have these opposite sides of yourself.
Yeah.
We all are multifaceted people, and very, very, very interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nick.
Thank you as well for the lovely interview.
Yeah, thank you very much for talking to.
You're welcome.
To this, and